Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to your Tuesday edition of FSU Weather. I'm state meteorologist Mike Lonan.
And I'm meteorologist Jay Karstens. It is December 4th here, and after a record-setting weekend of rainfall in many ways that concluded yesterday morning, we're starting to see those conditions improving and also cooling down at the same time.
Yeah, we saw this ball of fire in the sky this morning. I was like, I actually see something different today.
Yeah, the sun does in fact exist even this late into 2018, and we saw it in a big way today. Not many clouds, if any, really out there, and that's going to be a continued trend pushing on through the middle part of the week.
Yeah, and it's going to get cooler as we head into tomorrow and Thursday, so it's going to feel like winter again.
Yeah, it seems like it's a bit of a weekly cycle with these things, right? Where we always have these fronts coming in over the weekends. We have some rainy conditions that are kind of persisting, like the UF game a couple weeks ago, obviously last weekend's rainfall. And then the cool down tends to happen midweek with that sun coming back out. Kind of wish it would flip around a bit considering, you know, middle of the week and everything, but I guess we have to take it.
Yeah, sneak peek, that's going to happen once again.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll watch that with the potential for some really cool temperatures to start settling in, really starting tonight and especially tomorrow night, where temperatures could start to get back down towards that freezing point. Maybe not as cold as what we saw in the middle of last week, but still something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, and another thing, we also have to monitor a lot of our local rivers here, given the recent rainfall. Some places receiving up to 11 inches of rain in some cases.
Yeah, and that threat can linger on even despite the fact that these conditions have settled down a bit. It's going to take a while for those water levels to recede back down. But for now, going to take things out to the wall where Parker Beasley is there with an overview of what's to come tonight.
Thank you, guys. So we're going to be taking a look at the big picture right here. So there's this huge high-pressure system centered over Dallas right now that's actually creating some of those dry conditions that you guys were talking about earlier. And here's that frontal system that you guys were also talking about that moved through this past weekend, creating some of those rainfall records. Looking over to the west, though, off the coast of California, we do have that next low-pressure system that's going to be moving into the Florida region and going to be bringing us rains throughout Saturday. So here's that zoom in. Big, clear, dry area, no clouds in the area right now. Currently, though, it's 57 degrees outside. It's mostly clear with winds out of the northwest at 8 miles per hour. As for tonight, we're going to be dipping into the upper 30s. The capital city of Florida reaching temperatures of 38 degrees with clear skies once again with winds out of the north-northwest at 5 miles per hour. Looking at the 3-day forecast, here are high temperatures. For tomorrow, 52 degrees, clear skies once again, Thursday 56 degrees, and Friday 61 is our high. As for the headlines, though, it's going to be dry and cool for the remainder of the week, much like it is going to be for tomorrow. Patchy frost tonight, so be careful with that when you're driving. You might want to heat up the car and get rid of that frost. But rain chances will persist for this weekend, with chances being in 40 to 50%. I'm actually going to send things over to Noelle right now to look at the local.
Thanks, Parker. So here's that time lapse, a beautiful sunset going on right now. But earlier in the day, no clouds in our sky at all, just that great sunny day and then that beautiful ending. Currently 57 degrees and mostly clear skies. Like I said, a little bit of wind making it colder, so be sure you're bundled up out there. So similar temperatures in the rest of our area, 52 in Thomasville, 54 in Bainbridge, but mostly in the mid-50s for our area. For the wind speed, we do have a high pressure system that's located to our west. That's bringing in those northwest winds, a little bit gustier, 9 in Monticello, 8 in Tallahassee, but making things a little chillier. So the dew point, dry as ever, 41 in Thomasville, 41 in Tallahassee, and 39 in Quincy. So make sure you are lotioning up, you have your chapstick, and you are drinking plenty of water. For the muggy meter, because it is so dry, it is not muggy at all, so pretty nice outside, not too hot, not too muggy. So be sure to get outside and enjoy those temperatures if you can withstand the cold. Here's that high pressure system I was talking about sitting over to our west, and that's bringing in some nice conditions, no rainstorms, no clouds, unlike this rain front that we saw passing through our area, so clear skies in our area. And here's just a time lapse of the next couple days. Nothing at all moving into our area. Those good days are going to continue. For tonight, still no clouds, clear skies everywhere, and in the big letters, very cold. Make sure you bring your potted plants inside and that you are keeping your dogs as well inside as well. Ooh. 8 a.m. tomorrow, 41, going to warm up throughout the day. So if you're going out maybe for some study group sessions, then make sure you're heading out later in the afternoon when it's going to warm up just a little bit to 52. For your 7-day, those nice days are going to continue until Friday in the low 50s and warming up into the 60s by this weekend. However, the rain will return. 40% on Saturday, 50% on Sunday. A little bit warmer with 66 and 68, but those will move out and cool down as we go into the rest of the week. Now I'm going to pass it off to Harrison.
Yeah, and I'm going to go ahead and start talking about the southeast here where, well, I think we got the day planner first. Let me go ahead and step off and make sure we got the, okay, there we go. Right now we've got a time lapse of Key West down in South Florida, and you guys had some upper level cirrus clouds to start your day out, but it really cleared out. Those lower level cumulus clouds have since cleared out as well, and you guys are drying out. Y'all were a lot warmer than we were here up in North Florida around the Big Bend region, and expect that to stay as it always pretty much does. Our temperatures across the southeast, you can really see where this cold front has passed through and where it hasn't right now. We've got this cold front that's draped pretty much right across Tampa, over the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico right now. North of that, we're seeing those cooler conditions up near 40 in Little Rock, 49 in Montgomery, Tallahassee. We are a little bit warmer at 57 degrees. But if you look to the other side of that cold front, which is going to be the South Florida area, you guys are 73 in Tampa, 77 in Miami, and Key West, where we showed you that, that time lapse, you guys are also in those 70-degree area. Across the west, right now, we're going to look at the natty, but across the west, we've got a low pressure system that's going to be making its way across the southern portion of the country. And actually, later in the week, it looks like we're going to see the potential for some snowfall across northern Arkansas, Tennessee, and as well as North Carolina. Potentially substantial amounts of snow for some areas. Pretty unseasonable. I know we're starting to get into winter, but it's not always that we expect as much snowfall as we have. And then across the Midwest right now, St. Louis, you guys, and Indiana and Ohio, y'all have seen some snow today. That probably was pretty nice to see for a change. And we also have that cold front draped across Florida that I've been talking about recently. Moving in a little bit closer to our area, we've since dried out since yesterday. We had all that rain this weekend that has finally gotten out, and we're dealing with some river flooding, but hopefully that stays less of a problem for a lot of folks. Our dew points across the region, you can still see that cold front defined across central Florida. Miami, you guys are at 73, Tampa at 59, and Orlando at 58. And on the other side of that cold front, much drier. Dew won't form in Tallahassee until the temperature drops to 41 degrees. Little Rock, a little bit cooler at 24 degrees. Our winds across the area are mostly out of the north as we get that cyclonic flow around this high pressure system. Nothing too windy in any of the areas across the southeast, just some mostly single digits. We've got 11 miles an hour in Tampa. You guys are a little bit windier, but for the most part, pretty light winds across the region. As we go in our future cast for the next couple of days, nothing really to expect. That cold front continues to go ahead and push on further south, and that next system would be right off the map. That's going to go ahead and come on into our area. We shouldn't expect any rain from that until Saturday night or Sunday morning. Tonight's forecast across the southeast, we're going to be a little chillier here in Tallahassee than we have been in the last few days at 38. Little Rock and Tupelo, y'all will be below freezing, as well as Jackson and Shreveport and Montgomery. Atlanta, you guys will be sitting right at freezing, a little warmer in South Florida. And here's our freeze watches. Nothing too concerning here. And then our forecast for tomorrow should be pretty nice across most of the southeast. Now we're going to go ahead and send things over to Noel and Michael, where they'll talk about their next desk.
Yeah, thanks, Harrison. So we're having a new building here at FSU. It's our new building for the EOAS, which is Earth, Ocean, and Atmospheric Sciences. Currently under construction right outside our building.
Yes, absolutely, and I am definitely hearing all that construction during my classes, but it's coming along pretty good. They just put the windows in and everything. So.
Yeah, and also the bricks on. So earlier today, Jennifer was up at the roof giving a report on the weather outside and also any updates on the new building.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Collins here on the roof of Florida State University's Love Building at around 4:30 this Tuesday afternoon, and it is currently beautiful outside as we're looking at the construction of the new Earth, Ocean, and Atmospheric Science Building for Florida State. The expected completion is in summer of 2019, as they have had a few setbacks that's caused the completion date to be pushed back quite a bit, as they did see Hurricane Michael earlier this fall. However, currently it's beautiful out across Florida State, as we are in some drier conditions as a result of that cold front moving well towards the south of us, bringing in a lot cooler and drier conditions across the Big Bend region. We can expect low temperatures for the rest of the week to be in the lower 30s, and we could even see some freezes happening overnight in few areas. High temperatures should be in the 60s for most areas, so it should be absolutely beautiful in the Big Bend region. We can expect this weekend to be another wet one as another low pressure moves into the Gulf, but that's going to be well off towards the weekend, as for the next few days we should be very nice here in the Tallahassee area. Now I'm going to send things back over to the studio where we can finish off the show.
Well, thanks, Jennifer. So you can see the construction behind her actually progressing along very well.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good, shaping up. Can't wait to see the finished product.
Yeah, and it is a little chilly outside, as you can see by Jennifer's jacket, and it's going to get cold coming into tonight. But for more details about that forecast and the national picture, we're going to send off to Jake.
Thanks, guys. A lot of the rest of the country experiencing that cold weather, as you guys were alluding to. Before I start, a quick shout out to Harrison calling this the Natty earlier. Kind of our abbreviation for the show, and something that Florida State is starting to get familiar with. Quick shout out to the soccer team for winning that national title on Sunday. But across the rest of the country, that cold air really settling in for the northern, really 3/4 of the country. Everything about south of Dallas down to, say, Waco and San Antonio. Everything north of that, 30s, 20s, even some colder values in some of these areas, with snowfall being pretty profound in the Great Lakes, as well as parts of the upper Midwest, areas like Chicago and Minneapolis getting in on a bit of that action. In terms of the moisture, really the only spot that's sticking out like a sore thumb is, of course, South Florida. That front currently draped across the Florida Peninsula right about now. Much drier air right around here in Tallahassee since yesterday, down to 41 degrees on that dew point, 35 over towards New Orleans. But make that 7-hour trek down towards Miami, and that dew point goes up by 30 degrees. So if you want to experience that, it's a nice little day trip for you guys out there if you're heading down south anytime soon. Water vapor, you really see these circulation features popping up. This dry air coming in behind the front here, with some of that more moist air at the upper levels down in South Florida. And as I step off to the side, we also see a low that's currently spinning off of the Pacific coast, with some very moist air working its way into California as well as parts of Nevada right about now. But for most of the country, at least the plains and the southeast, we're seeing the effects of a high pressure system currently centered over Oklahoma right about now. But out to the northeast of that, we're seeing plenty of snowfall in parts of Missouri, Illinois, all the way over towards West Virginia. Getting into some of those mountainous regions, we see the rain-snow line kind of rearing its ugly head a little bit, with some rainfall also occurring in parts of central Kentucky, transitioning into snow as we cool down later on into the evening. So we'll zoom into that now, affecting some fairly large metro areas like St. Louis. You worked up towards, say, Springfield, Illinois, just working out of Cincinnati right about now, even areas like Evansville and Paducah and parts of Indiana and Kentucky getting in on some of that snowfall action. It extends several states with some pretty notable accumulations occurring in these locations, particularly in this area outlined by a winter weather advisory extending from central Virginia all the way down the Appalachians into the western parts of the Carolinas and extending as far west as southern Illinois. This is in effect for the next, say, about 20 hours or so until about 1 p.m. tomorrow. A freeze watch in effect for areas east of Tallahassee and South Georgia and North Florida, some of these more inland areas, until Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Really looking for the potential for some sub-32-degree temperatures tomorrow night especially, although some spots should be getting into the 30s tonight in those areas as well. Out to the west here, we saw that low spinning off the California coast. Rainfall working into the coastline down, really down the entire state of California, with some snow getting up into the mountains over near Reno along the California-Nevada border. Of course, we've seen a lot of rain in this area as of late, which with the wildfire situation that was going on a while back was helpful, but we cannot have too much of this, of course, for the potential for some mudslides and things like that in those higher elevations as well. If we look at tonight's forecast, very cold air for much of the country. 19 degrees in Salt Lake City, 17 over in Denver, and as I step off to the side, 20s all over the Great Lakes. Some snowfall possible in Minneapolis as well as KC, with those temps in the low to mid-20s. And as for tomorrow, you really see that trough of cold air actually digging into the southeastern United States a little bit. 44 degrees for that afternoon high temperature, not low, a high in Atlanta under bright and sunny skies for really the entirety of the southeast, shaping up to be a beautiful day for the state of Florida. Now I'm going to hand things off to Brantley for our second local look.
Thanks, Jake. Around the area right now, we've seen pretty clear skies all day today. Here's some time-lapse photography from our FSU Panama City campus. Not a cloud in the sky until the very late afternoon when we saw a few cirrus clouds, but those have already dissipated. Tonight, mostly clear around Tallahassee with a low, right currently in 57 degrees. Tonight, we'll see lows drop into the 30s. 57 for Tallahassee and Quincy, 56 near Apalachicola. The temperature is much different than yesterday, and also air is a lot drier as well. 41 is the dew point in Tallahassee, 36 in Bainbridge. That's very dry right now, and it's much drier than what we've seen the last several days with all the rainfall. High pressure is in control of the southeast now, so we have winds coming out of the northwest or north-northwest at this time, and it will generally shift in the next couple of days as our next system comes through. Wind speeds right now about 8 miles per hour for Tallahassee, 9 in Monticello, 7 in Quincy and Bainbridge, so not too high right now. We're just seeing a nice gentle wind coming in, bringing in some cooler air. That dry air will continue to shuttle into the area, though, in the overnight hours, and some frost is possible going into the morning. A flood warning is in effect, though, for most of the rivers around our area, especially for places in South Georgia. Places like in Brooks County, they do have a flood there that is going over some of the highways. Also near Sopchoppy, some roads and houses are being flooded by rivers, and so you need to check your local forecast if you live along one of those. Tonight in Tallahassee, 38 degrees under clear skies with north-northwest winds. Tomorrow, we're going to start out nice and cold around 7 a.m., around 39 degrees, but it will warm up just a little bit going into the middle of the day, around in the mid-40s. Highs tomorrow only in the lower 50s. So 52 is the high for tomorrow on Wednesday with a low near 38. But heading into Thursday, we could see a light freeze once again here across the Big Bend. Temperatures will warm up just a little bit going into the start of the weekend ahead of our next system, which could bring even more rain, affecting some of those floods around the area. Monday, we're going back down to around 54 degrees, and then a cold front comes back through, bringing temperatures back down into the 30s as we get into the middle of next week during finals. And we will see temperatures stay pretty chilly for the next 10 days or so. Otherwise, not nice and dry except for this weekend. Now we're going to take things back over to the desk with Parker and Jake.
Thanks a lot, Brantley. That cycle continues. The cooler weeks and sunny skies followed by the rainy weekends. And what we're going to do is recap the last rainy weekend that we experienced in Tallahassee, because in many ways it was actually pretty historic for this time of year especially.
Yeah, very historic, in fact. So over this past weekend, it was the first 3 days of December, and we accumulated almost 8 inches of rainfall.
Yeah, so if you're maybe not aware of what exactly that means, that's more than twice the average of what we see for the month of December entirely, all 31 days, and we did it in 3. And really, we did more than half of that in just one night between Sunday and Monday when we had those training thunderstorms that ruined my commute home from my other job, and yeah, made things really fun for a lot of people around the city.
Yeah, so only 3 times ever have we had more rain in a 3-day span, and all of these occurred in March.
Right. So for any other month, this is the fastest 3-day rain start that we've really had to any month on record, and that goes all the way back to 1892. So pretty wild stuff that we've really been seeing here, and maybe flew a little bit under the radar, no pun intended, for a lot of that time.
Yeah, that's very staggering numbers of what we saw this past weekend.
Yeah, and of course, we also saw some record temperatures that worked into the picture, especially on Sunday, where if you guys maybe walked outside during some of the breaks in the rainfall in the afternoon, you might have seen those temps get all the way up to 80 degrees. We actually set a different record.
Yeah, we saw temperatures Sunday at 70 degrees.
Right, that was our low temperature for the day, which is the highest low temperature on record for that day as well. So not just the rainfall that was record-breaking in many ways, but also some of that heat that we saw, and of course that is going to be followed by this big cool down that we're starting to observe right about now.
Yeah, and thanks to this past weekend, we can officially call 2018 the wettest year that Tallahassee has experienced since 1994.
Yeah, so 24 years now, and this is about the 17th or 18th, I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, wettest year overall in the city. Got to wrap things up really quick here by asking you for the story that you mentioned to me before about the rainfall over the weekend. Wasn't, this could actually be a big problem for people out there.
Yeah, so actually in my apartment complex, a huge oak tree fell over and damaged about 10 cars.
Yeah, so we've talked about the river flooding and things like that. It can make the foundations for these trees really weak. And we actually saw it with Tropical Storm Colin that hit a couple of years ago, where it knocked down a big tree just to the north of campus. So that's another thing to keep in mind when we have these really big rainfall events in Tallahassee.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually going to send things over to the wall with Michael right now.
Yeah, so absolutely clear skies going on right now, and as we go throughout the day, nothing changes with this camera. You can see, thank goodness we had a day like this to recover from all the rainfall we did experience this past weekend. Across the Panhandle currently, it is cooler, out in the 50s, 54 in Pensacola, 57 in Tallahassee. You're in the middle to upper 60s once you head down to the I-4 corridor, 68 in Orlando, 69 in Tampa. And then ahead of that front, still trying to move through, you're in the upper 70s with 78 in West Palm Beach and 77 in Miami. Again, for Florida, the main story is that cold front finally moving away, finally moving through South Florida as we speak, and it's going to move off into the Caribbean as we head into tomorrow. High pressure is in control for the rest of the country, so that's going to make us have a few dry days here in Tallahassee and for the rest of Florida and feel much cooler compared to this past weekend. But as I step to the side here, off towards the west, that's our next storm system, which is going to affect a lot of the southern tier of the country and give us rain as we head into Saturday and into Sunday, unfortunately. But for now, we are experiencing clear skies in the Panhandle with some rain down towards South Florida, and high pressure is going to build in for the rest of the state going into tonight and into tomorrow. So the rest of the work week is looking absolutely perfect. Again, with the cold front moving through a lot of the state, only southerly winds are down towards Alligator Alley with 4 miles per hour in Key West and Miami. You can see the northerly winds bring in that cooler, more comfortable air out towards the Panhandle and starting to get into the I-4 corridor and the northern part of the peninsula here in Florida. Dew points also reflect that drier air across the Panhandle, a little bit of moisture left over in the lower levels down towards the central part of the state, with the more humid air still ahead of that cold front. But the drier air is going to move down towards the rest of the state as we head into tomorrow. Now for tonight's forecast across the state, you see where the drier air is. You're going to get more colder with 30s in Pensacola and Tallahassee. A little bit more moisture won't allow temperatures to cool that much in the central part of the state with 48 in Orlando and 50 in Tampa. And then still a little bit ahead of that cold front, you'll be in the low to upper 60s in West Palm Beach and Miami. But for tomorrow, everyone is going to be much cooler compared to the last few days with upper 60s to low 70s and into the middle 70s down towards the Keys. In Tampa region, you can see upper 50s to low 60s, and then out towards the Space Coast, low 60s as well. In Jacksonville, low 50s, middle 50s to upper 50s, and then finally for the Panhandle, middle 50s as well. All of us experiencing mostly sunny skies. But for now, we're going to take it out with Parker with a final look at our local forecast.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So we're going to be taking a final look at the local. Currently, right now, it is 57 degrees outside with mostly clear skies. Winds out of the northwest at 8 miles per hour. A beautiful sunset over Doak Campbell Stadium that we just saw a few moments ago. As for the temperatures around the Big Bend region, Tallahassee sitting at 57, Apalachicola over there at 56, a little bit comfortable. And over into this, the South Georgia regions, they're seeing temperatures dip into the upper 40s. Thomasville up there at 48 degrees. Our dew points, though, they're looking a little bit dry. I'm from Central Florida, so 41 is not very comfortable for me. I like 60s and 70s. Tallahassee sitting at 41. Quincy up at 39. These dew points are going to remain dry for the remainder of the week until we get a little bit of rain, maybe potentially on Saturday and Sunday. As for the muggy meter, though, much of Florida sitting at smiling faces emojis. Tampa over here, smiles. Miami, smiles. Orlando, smiles. Everywhere is smiles right now because the muggy meter is just so low right now. We're at 41 in Tallahassee, and Orlando is at 58 right now. That low pressure system is going to continue moving throughout Florida throughout the remainder of the week. But as for this right now, this high pressure system sitting over top of Dallas is going to be moving its way eastward and really keeping those persistent dry conditions for much of the southeast. And here's that next frontal system that I was talking about earlier. It's going to be moving through, making its way from west to east, possibly causing some snow in the northern parts of the country. Zooming in towards the Big Bend region, Tallahassee, no clouds in the area whatsoever, very clear conditions for the entire region. Brantley was talking about these flood watches earlier. Much of the rivers are on edge, about to flood if we get any potential rain, but this does expire on Friday at 10:28 a.m. So we're not expecting any rain until Saturday. So the flood warning shouldn't be much of an issue for any of those areas. As for the winds, though, they're out of the northwest. You can see this clockwise rotation from the high pressure system that is located just over central Texas. As for the wind speeds and directions, 8 miles per hour out of the northwest again. And for tonight, though, temperatures are going to be into the 40s and upper 30s. It's going to be really cold. Make sure you grab a jacket if you're going to be heading out. As for tomorrow, we're going to be waking up at 8 a.m. with 41 degrees. Noon going to be 48, and 4 p.m. it's going to be around 52, with temperatures capping off there at 52. Clear skies, much like we saw today. Nothing to expect there. As for the 7-day, though, we can expect clear skies to persist throughout Wednesday and Friday, and then Saturday, rain chances pick up to about 40%. So let's send things over to the desk with Brantley and Harrison to close out.
Thanks, Parker. Now, speaking of closing out, we just closed out our last hurricane season. It ended officially on November 30th. That was last Friday.
Yeah, and to some people's surprise, it was actually one of the more active hurricane seasons we've seen. $33 billion in damage, unfortunately, was caused. We had 15 named stormed.
Yeah, and a few of those storms did become hurricanes, and we did have 2 major hurricanes that made landfall on the United States this year, so that was pretty incredible, too. We had Hurricane Florence that made landfall near Wilmington, North Carolina, and, of course, the most recent one, Hurricane Michael, making landfall near Mexico Beach.
Yeah, and both of those storms were pretty catastrophic for both areas. We actually had an early start to the hurricane season this year with Tropical Storm Alberto making landfall in the western Florida panhandle.
Yeah, that's right. We did have some impacts there. It was actually a subtropical storm that later became tropical over Michigan. So that was pretty interesting to watch that transformation there. We also had another tropical storm, Gordon, that made landfall in northwest Florida as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going ahead and looking into the next couple of days, we should have those drier conditions for your Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Before that rain comes into the Tallahassee areas, I know everybody's been mentioning lately.
Yeah, so it is a dry patch here for the rest of the school week and work week, but this weekend some rain is coming back into the forecast, and that is not any good news for people that live along some of those places that are experiencing flooding right now. We could see that flood threat increase in the next couple of days because of that.
Yeah, and I don't need any more rain because with the last rain storm that happened, my car actually started leaking, and so did my roof. So.
Oh gosh, well hopefully, hopefully there's not too much rain coming. All right, you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter at FSU Weather.
Yep, and check us out on YouTube as well at FSU Weather on YouTube for our channel.
You can also send us pictures on Instagram. We have an Instagram page there. You can send us pictures. We'll feature them on any of our social media and here on our show. We'll love to see them.
Yep, and I'm Harrison Prieto.
I'm student meteorologist Brantley Kike. Have a good night.